fixed my hair. I put mousse on it again, though. I'm going to have to learn what I need to do. But anyway, this is what my hair looks like when I fix it. Let's get this fixed, too. Okay. Come down a little bit. There we go. Maybe let's give everybody a minute to get in here. I'm going to attempt to shape this frame. And y'all know the struggle I had shaping the last frame. So I thought I'd share the struggle with you. This is how late it is. It's just now 2 o'clock. And I've been up and down, up and down. I slept till about 2 a.m., got up, couldn't sleep. And finally got a picture of the cat. And I had did the colors backwards. So I redid another one, but it still turned out really cute. And I didn't mind to do it. Fishing out my jewelry. I take them off when I do the dishes. And put them in this little glass jar that I have. And then I have to fish them out and put them back on when I get ready for them. Not necessarily feeling super bad today. David sounds better. It's all trying to come out of him, but he looks a little rough. Of course, I guess you could argue and say he looks rough all the time. Oh no, I dropped something. But yeah, it's just been a long morning here already. Ow. And oh no, I'm just moving real slow and need to put my belt on because I can't keep my britches up. And so I thought I'd hop on here and give everybody a few minutes to come in because y'all are always curious about how I just dry these and reshape them. Sometimes I have to completely rehydrate. Oh no, here comes Luna. Sometimes I have to completely rehydrate and sometimes I don't. It really just depends on the circumstance, or sometimes just how much sap is down in the dreamcatcher when I begin to weave. No ma'am. No ma'am. Go to Luna's chair. You were just out. No ma'am. David is home today. He's not feeling the best, but somebody dropped off some catches that they wanted. That's not what I was wearing, but they wanted fleshed, and so he's got to get them fleshed. And he, bless his heart, he's out there trying to flesh stuff. And if my hands were more stable than they are, I'd probably be trying to help him, but I don't. I flesh with scalpel blades. That's dangerous. Hi, y'all. Hey, Colin, how you doing? Is that Carrie? Katie, Carrie? Hey, Ashley. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily feeling bad. I'm just not. I'm slow today, and I recognize that I'm slow today. And that's okay. My big black cat that I did, this is my big black cat that I did. I gave him a derpy face. I love derpy faces on things. I gave him whiskers and a derpy face. And I need to lint roll him. So all the white Chanel on him, ignore because he's got a white Chanel buddy. This is my big black cat. I love him. He's so derpy and cute. But then they sent me the picture and I was like, oh, I reversed the colors. So then I tried to match the picture as best as I could. And he's in a white Chanel, so he's a little bit smaller. I saw a fluff spot somewhere that needed to come off. Oh no, that just needs to be tucked in. That's my end. That's his ear. So this is him in Chanel yarn. It's that loops and thread. It's so soft. This is little kitty with the right colors because I did the white and the black reverse last time. So I actually matched his spots with a picture this time. I think it turned out really cute. And then of course my poor Froggy's been grumpily sitting in there with them. He's got a little crooked booty, but I think he's adorable. He's sitting there like. He's got a big frown on his face. I think these are so cute. I love to cross their arms to make him look like a huh. Huh. So that's what I did last night when I couldn't sleep. Yeah, no, because I can't sit still. If I'm sitting still, I'm miserable. I don't like to sit still. So you can imagine how horrible of a patient I am when I don't sit still. This is my haircut when it's fluffed up. It's not all the way dry, but it's shaped. It's it's mildly fixed. We'll say mildly fixed. And I might got a lot of hair going on again. I don't know where it came from, because a year and a half ago, it was so thin from my thyroid about killing me that I was afraid I was going to have to wear wigs. So, my eyes are horrible today. Yeah, it has been a misty, icky day here, and the temperature's dropping, so I'm going to have a fire. Ooh, I'm going to have a fire for several evenings. It's going to be not a nice, pleasant week to be in the hills this week. Not at all. So I've got this big hoop here, and I just did this is just a big, or just quick bend it, get it up, let it start to dry. It's still got a little bit of spring in it. Not a lot. But now I have to see what it wants to become. I'm going to leave one of those. Which one am I going to leave? I'm going to leave that one. Now I have to see what it wants to become. And this is sometimes where I get smacked in the face by these things, and where things go wrong sometimes. Sometimes I have to put them in the shower and rehydrate them. Those are always fun days when somebody gets in the shower and they see these things wadded up in the base, and they're like, there's a oh, they thought it was a snake in the shower. And I'm like, it's just my dream catcher wreath. Just trying to become something. It's just confused at the moment. And I want to put it through here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to break. If it breaks at a certain point, I'm not worried about it. This took me, I'm not even gonna lie, y'all, this took me so long to learn how to feel what it was. See, I made it like 3 times smaller at the end. And then you have to come in and create anchor points for braces to kind of reshape it. Now it, honestly enough, wants to live like this. I don't dictate these things. They pick who they are, what they want to look like. I'm just rolling with it. I'm just rolling with it. Y'all, I would love to call out names, but I'm blind. So poorly. I'm so blind today. Not always on the same day. My hair is aggressive. My hair is aggressive. We'll just say that. So I don't really dictate it. It dictates me. And so when it got thin, when I was really sick, I was really concerned because I never had thin hair. But it was getting so thick I couldn't. The migraines were getting too bad. I was like, sorry, we're gonna have to part ways. You're too much. And I felt really bad. But I'm not as attached to hair as most Native people are. Most Native people like to keep it long and braid it because they think the 3 braids represent the mind, body, and spirit. And I'm completely fine with that. I think it's beautiful sentiment, and I understand because a lot of Natives were forced to cut their locks to assimilate when they were, brought into the government reservations. So I completely understand. I'm just not as attached to mine as other people are attached to theirs. And it causes me a lot of grief, so I don't mind to cut it off. It really affects my health, and in the winter, if I get to clean it and work up a sweat, it holds a lot of damp in there, and it's just not good for my health. Y'all know that I have issues with mastoiditis. It's just not good for my health. So I got mad at it the other night after I had like 3 migraines in a row, and I was like, you're leaving me now, so depart. And I chopped it off, and I give like a rocker shag. It'll take me a few more times of styling it and maybe thinning it a little bit more right through here. And oddly enough, it curled when I cut it, so that surprised me as well as y'all. I've had a wave to my hair most of my life, but not this wavy. So maybe it's just like filling its oats after it got done being so long. Okay, this one wants to live like this. So if Heather sees this, I sent Heather a message. She purchased a personalized dream catcher because I told David I didn't care to do one more. And I really thought this was going to be just another dinner plate round, but it's going to be oblong, a little bit bigger, but an oblong. I don't tell them what to become. They tell me what they want to be, and I just roll with it because I'm not the one in control. I will say it's safer until you start weaving to leave these long, because if you shorten them, you will jab yourself in the eye and hurt far worse when they're short and strong as to long and floppy. So there's a good tip for you. I'm going to lose every nail I have on today. That's going to be lovely. But I really like this, and I'll probably use this as a feather dangle or bait dangle site over here. I think this is going to turn out really cute. Really cute. I'm excited about that. So that's what I'm going to be doing for most of the afternoon. My nose. Oh, their earring. I see. I know what I'm doing. No, I don't. When I can't sleep, I order earring displays. You know, it happens when you can't sleep. You just you get online and you make purchases. I like these. I don't know if I'm gonna like them a long time, but I like them enough to use them a time or two. And this is my new bead needle. And if y'all wonder why I'm trying to look at this. Oh, you like it? Well, thank you. Renee, thank you. I think it's going to be a pretty one. I never know what they're going to look like till I sit down and start making them. I'm just as surprised as everybody else sometimes. Because, oh, I already lost a nail. I get kind of confused by the turns it takes sometimes when I'm making them too. So, if y'all want to wonder why I'm like, today's going to be an interesting day, this is the length of my bead needle. And while it's not super sharp, it is dangerous. And when you have very unstable hands and you're trying to get a bunch of beads, this is dangerous. And so if I'm going to do a lot of beading in the round when I'm weaving, I have to use this. I have to be super careful because you've got to go through this giant needle. And it's so, you'll hurt yourself. Usually I use a tiny scuttle, which they use for like hand tatting. It's got a bobbin in the middle. It's metal. I'll just show you. It's over there. Hang on. I'll get it. Stay. Found it. So usually I use one of these. It's got a bobbin in the middle that you take out, and you can wind quite a bit on it. It depends on what gauge of sinew that I purchased, how much I can wind on it. And you go under and through, and it's easier to just for me to throw it through, wrap it around, and pull it back out. And I can keep moving with this little shuttle. It's a lot easier. And then it has a little hook on the end if I need to pull something or grab something or split the threads to get through. So these are used in hand tatting. And it's just a bobbin shuttle. I use those quite a bit. I have plastic ones too, but I like the metal one better. I don't drop it as much. I don't know why I don't drop it as much. It doesn't really make sense to me either, but I don't drop it as much. So, yay. And then I normally write you a letter. If I weave, I write you a big letter. But then when people order stuff from David, if I package your order for him, I write you little notes. And so I got little envelopes. These are cute little envelopes. And these little craft cut cards. I like to write notes. I hate writing addresses though. So I forced him to buy a personalized stamp because I'm tired of writing addresses, like our address 50,000 times. Yeah. So when he puts the business address on something, he can just go ahead and stamp that puppy on there because I'm tired of it. I have to make sure I have 50,000 addresses right every time I do an order, and it's always freaking me out that I'm going to mess something up when I do one for him. And so I just got to stamp. But we'll just take the error possibilities out of it. I wish my eyes would stop this. I have no idea what you're doing, but you can just go away. That's rude. That's rude. Rude. People get on here and they're so rude. And it's like, why would you say these things? But then again, I used to supervise the sex offenders, so I understand a lot of it. I get it. I get it. So I think what I want to do is to start a weave in a dark, I'm about to spank myself, in a dark brown. But then I have this really beautiful bamboo split with something else thread, and I was thinking about doing a like micro crochet mandala center. I'm not quite sure, but I've got to get out a lot of beads and a lot of my bones and a lot of my feathers and get my station set up. And so by the time I start, when I get there to start, putting stuff together, I'll pick what's right. But I'm kind of surprised that this one wanted to be flat. I really thought I was going to go with another round, but it just doesn't look right. It wants to be flat. And but I'm starting to like the flat ones a lot more than I used to. And it seems like I've woven 2 or 3 that have chosen to be flat in the last few months. And that normally only happens maybe a couple times a year. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, they pick what they want to be. So, well, I just made the round right now. So, you'll start your weave on, if you start with sinew, you'll start on the outside. If I crochet the mandala, then what I will do is I'll crochet a little mandala and I'll see how far it will stretch. And either I'll stretch the whole mandala or I'll weave to it and then lace in the mandala and stretch it. The mandala leaves a smaller eye area, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because I normally do a pretty tight weave anyway, so it's not like there's going to be a huge eye area in the middle anyway. So I don't really know yet what this is going to become, but I did get a lot of, I'm just going to pop these nails off, they're annoying me. I did get a lot of my stone beads in yesterday that I was restocking because I'm fixing to do a lot of the tribal stuff that I do in the winter. And so I thought, well, since I got everything before I put it up, I'll just finish this dreamcatcher and play because I like to have options. So I'm just going to finish this dreamcatcher and try to enjoy the weave. It's not going to stress me out. No, I mean, I'm well trained for stress if you know my career options. So I've supervised murderers and sex offenders and taught cognitive behavioral therapy in the prisons and the jails. I've always worked with people that were sadly addicted to substances, trying to go through therapy and IOP options to get away from it. People that needed, I still help the local jail and random people get into grant and scholarship beds for mental and substance abuse issues, mental health and substance abuse issues. So I've never had an easy path in life. So I'm used to the stress and strain of it. Boy, that one still stuck really good. Apparently I glued that one on real good. But I know I'll lose all of these, but I'm just going to go ahead and pop them off because I know what I'm fixing to get into. And y'all know when by the time I weave, I've cut my hands to ribbons where I'm tying knots and pulling and holding that sinew and threading. And so I normally, after I weave for about 2 weeks, I have to use like a healing bonding cream on my hands. So I use a lot of the salves that have comfort in them because it really helps my hands heal if I split them. And I do split them a lot when I weave. When you're doing the smaller threads, especially the smaller sinews, it just cuts through you. And I used to wrap my hands, and it would still happen. It would almost happen worse because it would catch the edge of the tape and lock on and just dig in. So I stopped doing that. It worked for a few reasons, and it didn't work for a lot of other reasons. So I stopped doing that. So, but I wanted to pop on and just show you. It's just something really simple. I do a loose, hook it into a circle. If I'm putting them up and I'm not going to use them immediately and I don't know who they're going to, I'll do a loose big circle. And I did about 5 of those, a few months ago, 4 months ago. And then if somebody wants a personal one, I'll take it down and I'll tighten it. And that's when I figure out what it wants to become. And this one wanted to be sideways. So maybe that means that, I don't know, maybe this means that woman's a little bit more like balanced or something. I don't know. But sometimes I do if they don't want to turn into a good shape, or they're just springing back or acting like they're going to break, then I will put them in my shower and turn on the shower, and I'll soak them really good for a few minutes, and then I'll just leave them in there to soak, just to soak and steam, and then it rehydrates them, and I'll pick them up and bend them a little bit, and then I have to hang them up and let them, after I get them affixed, I have to hang them up and let them dry again. But this one did it dry. So he really wanted to be a dream catcher today. He was not fussing at all. I like that. And because the last one, I broke a frame, then I wove it again, and my weave broke. And I've never had those two things happen to me ever. And both of them happened on the same weave. And I was like, because those things just don't happen to me. So that was interesting. So I'm glad this one seems to be starting off much easier. And it's kind of like, yeah, you can turn me into something. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I gave the cat a butthole. I love this little cat. He's Chanel, so you're going to have to constantly lint roll him. But he's so soft. He's got little whiskers too. I love this little cat. I love this little pet. His little butthole's so cute. I didn't give the black one butthole. I love that little cat. But yeah, I couldn't sleep. I slept till about 2, and then I just got up and worked on stuff till about 7:30. Tried to lay back down, and it was just not going to happen. So I feel very tired. My eyes are really wigged out today, but I don't feel bad. I'm just tired. Twisting the nuts away. Well, if I can't sleep, I'm going to be doing something. Normally I'm up with the fire, or I'll sit up and get caught up on something that if my eyes are good, something I'm reading. My eyes, they were doing better, and I had done some reading, and then had a cluster of migraines a couple days ago that kind of hung on, and they're crap again. And I'm like, everything is just blurry, like there's a water dot. And I'm sure it's my Graves' disease. I'm absolutely positive it is. Let me see if I can drag this box over here, because I bought a bunch of crap in the other day. And I've got everything in this chair. Let's see if I can do this without falling. I don't know. It may all tumble. What did I drop? Oh yeah, I found these bracelet displays too. They stand up like this, then you put the bracelet on it, and it just stands like this. I find that the hardest thing at those festivals for David is getting stuff displayed where people can actually see it well enough to know what it is and want to grab it and look at it. So, also for some reason got turquoise leather. I've got to go back to Bowman's. I'm on my last little bit from the last trip I did with Bowman's with Mom and her friend back in the summer. So I've got to go back to Mr. Bowman's and get more leather. But I wanted, for some reason, when I was shopping, I saw turquoise, and I was like, I'll take some turquoise leather. I have some purse turquoise straps, but I don't have any tiny. And I got new prisms in. I have some bigger prisms, but I like the smaller ones. I love the prisms. Probably one of my favorite things that I add on when I feel the need. I got this really pretty gold ribbon. It's like a lace. It's flowery gold. Well, it matches my shirt really well, like a flower. If I was like patient enough, I could like crochet my own ribbon and stuff. But my time, y'all. I just don't think there's enough of me to do everything completely from scratch. I try to do as much as I can. This is the sinew I want to weave with. It's the dark brown. I love it. I love it. I do like that gold ribbon though, a lot. Some more prisms of this thing, yeah. I got a bunch of prisms because sometimes I'll just use one, sometimes I'll bling them out. You never know. I have got, for my feather caps, I love this little Tibetan silver, reclaimed silver. They're tassel caps, but I use them if I don't want to, if I'm going to ship a dreamcatcher or it's going to have to go with David to like festivals, I like to be able to add a lot of glue instead of just do my gathering knots and, do them completely just no glue, just all knots. And I have found that these little cups that you can string through, they're just tassel beads, I guess is what you would call them. They're great for cuffing feathers and adding a little bit of pretty and letting you sneak some glue in without like defacing the art. I got 2 bags of those. Yay. I really like to use them. I don't use them on all the feather drops, but I normally use them on the center ones. I like a lot of the natural ribbons that kind of look like the old sweetgrass ribbons that the Indians would weave. So a lot of the twine that you see used on a lot of artwork from the Plains Indians was actually buffalo grass that was grown and gathered much like flax is turned into linen, and it was turned into twine so that they could use it to sew and weave and make things with. And I would probably love to experience that and, do it once. I've seen it done, but I've not done it myself. There's a lady in this area that actually does it. But I just don't know about my time slots there. I have these bracelets I love these bracelets with the slider things. And they've just got ends that you have to jump ring off. And I've got some really awesome jewelry ideas with some delicate bones that I'm going to be doing. So I'm terribly excited for that. I even bought the strings of prisms so I didn't have to string them. I got them already jump ring together. Just because it helps me, especially when I'm having bad eye days, to move right along with what I'm doing. So when I have bad eye days, I can cheat. It's already jump ring together, and I don't have to sit there and make that face and feel like I'm 95 years old because I have a disease that affects my eyes. Boy, I'm talking about drainage today. David says he feels better today, but he sounds horrible. He stayed home from work. This is the next shade of brown that I have. It's not as dark as the other one. And I can mix them sometimes, and it will give a different shade in the mix. I have like a oatmeal colored one too, but I don't use it a lot. Oh, look at this. This is gorgeous. Ophelia sent me a package around Christmas time with a bunch of stuff she thought I could use in my purses. When I make purses, I like to use belts for purse straps. And this is the most adorable little, it would never fit me. It would fit my daughter. She's tiny. It'd be too big for her. This is the most adorable. It's a women's Western belt. It's a 34. It'd be too big for my daughter, but she'd wear it. She'd just have a whole way up there. But it is beautifully tooled. And it's just so nice and supple. It's just a really good quality leather. It's got some good silver hardware I can take off and use somewhere else. This would make a beautiful, she sent me like 3 or 4 of these. It would make a beautiful purse strap. And I'm not even lying, the day after I got her package in, she sent me like 4 or 5 belts. And Dad, when I had been down at the house, I come in and he had on a back brace wrapped around his pants. And I was like, "Is your back hurting you?" He goes, "No, my britches keep." My dad's lost a lot of weight. He's been on a new diet from his doctors, and he's lost quite a bit of weight for him. And he said, "No, my britches keep falling. I can't find my smaller belts." And I was like, "Oh, well, one of the belts is going to work perfectly for him." And I was like, it was just supposed to be. It was just supposed to be. So, and then I've got all my feathers from Ashley. So I've still got all natural feathers going on here. And I've got other people that are keeping feathers. It's so hard for me to get feathers because they want to make the craft feathers imitation feathers now. And if I want to buy the real duck, goose, turkey feathers, it gets super expensive. And, you know, I mean, my family and stuff harvest turkeys and stuff every spring, but the feathers don't last that long. I make a lot of dream catchers. So I go through a lot of feathers. So I've got a lot of people keeping feathers for me right now. And then one thing that I opted to try this time, and I've never tried it, and I don't know how I can use it, to be quite honest. So we'll see where I put it. I just got a little, like, 1 yard of it to see what I thought about it, because it looked like something I wanted to try to do something with. And I hate to cut my own fringe, even though I have really good leather shears. I hate cutting my own fringe. I hate it. And so I got this suede fringe. Do I know where I'm going to use it? No. I just got 1 yard of it, and it'll obviously just be a little pretty add-on somewhere. But I do love the movement, and I love a lot of movement in my dream catchers. And this was just really fine cut fringe. I really like it. And I thought, I'm going to see if I can use it somewhere. And if not, then I've got a few things for David's going to like a Viking Renaissance thing. I'm still trying to get used to my hair. He's going to like a Viking Renaissance thing in April. And I may be able to use it on something. I'm going to do like that coyote mantle. And then I'm going to do a capelet with fur. Probably bobcat. And yeah, so I've got one of these started and I still haven't finished it. And Amazon had these on sale the other day. And they were cheaper than I found them anywhere. Amazon. And they were cheaper than I found them anywhere else since the big one. So I got one of these. And I love these. And so I don't know if I'm going to crochet something or if I'm going to make a fur something. I haven't got there yet. Oh, and if you like to make mock-ups of patterns, but you don't want to pay the gosh awful prices for the fabric that you use to make mock-ups, you can get these. They're just what they call shades, pull-down paper shades. You can get them for like $3, and this thing stretches out. It's like 80 inches long. It just falls down to 80 inches. And it's better quality. It's almost like interfacing. So it holds its shape. It doesn't wad up or shrink. It's great to do mock-ups. It's great to make pattern pieces. So that's how I save money when I'm making mock-ups and making my own patterns when I'm sewing something or making leather pieces. I don't go pay for the expensive interfacing or the expensive fabric. I get these paper shades, and I guess they work in windows. I've never had one in a window. I don't know. I get them just because what they're made out of. They're just a paper shade, and it feels almost just like interfacing or like Insulbright. And I stretch it out and cut it and make my mock-ups and my patterns. I don't use anything the way it's supposed to be used, y'all. That's what it is. I don't use anything the way it's supposed to be used. I look at it and go, what could that become? What can I turn that into? So yeah, I don't look at my gray. So I don't use a lot of things the way they're supposed to be used. I think I'm going to go up and probably thin. This is where I have a lot of thickness right here. I think I'm going to thin that out a little bit more. I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of like the Jimmy Houston bowl cut look up here. I don't know. Makes me want to go fishing. Makes me want to go fishing real bad. But I'm making peace with this. It's growing on me. I left it long enough in the back I can pull it up in my clips or pull it up in a a ponytail, but when I cut it, it just turned curly. And I was like, okay, guess we're going to have wavy curly hair now. I go, okay. Oh, we got Chelsea in here now. Hey, Chelsea. We got Margaret in here. I'm so blonde. So blonde. I know, I was mad at it, and I just hacked it off, and I'm sure I've got a couple places I'll have to even out as I toy with it and work with it and stuff. But I was so mad at it, and I had so many headaches in like a 72-hour period, and it felt my head was so sore from having a bunion and dealing with those headaches and being sick, and I literally went to town, and I made I sectioned like 6 pieces to do a layer cut, and then I barely have even like blunt cut it and try to blend it. Barely. I'm going to have to do quite a bit of that over the next couple showers and hair fixings. But I did pretty good. I was just mad. Y'all, most people that cut their hair, if they're mad, they don't cut it well. Mine always comes up pretty good when I'm mad. And my fringe will come down the whole way and turn into a shag. You kind of have to pop it and blend it and pull it over a little bit. But it'll come down and be a full little shag. But I normally like to make this a little bit more high up there and puffy, but I always pull my bangs to the side because I got a cowlick right here that's, I don't know, it'd part the Red Sea. Jesus didn't need to make Moses do anything. He just needed to put my cowlick right there in the Red Sea and it would have... I mean, I've always had this cowlick. I don't remember a time without this cowlick. And, but I really like this turquoise. And it's thinner. I have purse strap turquoise, which is brighter, but I really like the darkness, the deep color. And it called to me when I ordered it a couple weeks ago, and today it's talking to me. These darker, kind of muted, darker, it's like a dark academia call to me today. I really wish if I had some like russet brown or some even like dark, like blood red ribbon or something, lace. Oh, I'd be in hog heaven today because that's the mood. That's the mood I'm in today. And that's exactly what I want to be weaving with. And like the color scheme I want to go for. I want to go for a darker, more muted kind of, and not like a dark, like, you know, mean, but like a dark comfort library, dark academia thing. I love those colors. Those are my comfort colors. I grew up when Mama was in college. I would either be at the Barnes with Dad or I'd be with Mom at night in lecture classes. And if I wasn't welcome in the lecture class, they'd sit me in the library or in the hallway with a book. And I loved to go to those big libraries and the colleges. And they had these awesome little corners, reading nooks. And it was just, you could just walk in and feel the knowledge in the room. And when I was just little, and I loved it, and I would just pick books out and read. And I'd be there like every other week or every week, sometimes with Mom, and I would just go back and get the same book and read these. I was reading college books when I was little, and I just really liked it. Or I'd take a book that I had got out of the library at school or at town and, you know, take it with me to read. And lots of times I just sat with her in the class. So I was going to my mom's lecture classes when I was little. And I knew what college was all about well before I ever went to college. And I was typing her when she was in her master's for education program, and I was in sixth grade. A lot of the women that she was in class with, they needed their thesis papers typed. And I typed really fast. Of course, you know, I went on to do medical transcription. Now I can't type for crap because I can't see, and I've got a neuromuscular disorder. So it didn't age well. But I typed like 108 words per minute when I was very young. And I was clocked to that regularly when I was doing medical transcription. I typed for the newspaper. I typed the entire newspaper every week up here, and all the recipe books that were ordered through the newspaper. I mean, any book, any publication that was ordered through a newspaper, I was the one that typed it. I typed everything. So I was regularly clocked at over 100 words per minute. That's where I held at. And so I was in 5th, 6th, 7th grade typing, you know, 30, 60 page thesis statements and doctoral thesis statements for mom's college friends when I was and I was making like $3 a page. I was bankrolling when I was little. It was pretty nice. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty big deal. I was quite proud of myself. You're saying it sounds like a something, but I'm blind. Is it a bud knot? I don't know. Oh, Lord, don't ask me to pronounce that French hairdo because my daughter wanted that done one day for a banquet she had to go to. And we bickered on how to pronounce that word for about an hour and a half. And I said, just turn around and I do your hair like that. And I made the prettiest hairdo because she, has hair down to her waist. So we really had to do some finagling to get it all up there and perfectly rounded up. And, and that's how she wore it a lot when she showed horses too. And we fussed about how to say that every time I done her hair for something. Yeah, I had an electric typewriter when I was typing the thesis stuff, and then by the time I went to work out of high school, the world had rolled over to the big honking computers. I loved macros. I was the macro queen when I was doing medical transcription, buddy. That I could, because we had doctors that would repeat the same things, especially the pediatricians when they would have to go through and note specific things about every child that they did an H&P on for an office visit. So during a history and physical, they'd always have to talk about the head being like normal, round, cephalic, blah, blah, blah. And it's like a whole paragraph that they had to say and note because they had to note it in a physical evaluation. And so he would say a paragraph like this, and I could hit like 3 keys, and whoop, there it was, because he said it the same every time. And so I had all the doctors macroed. And so I was, women that had worked there for years, like 10, 20 years, I was walking in with no training, no education. I just knew Latin from where I liked to read about animal science and husbandry and about the muscles. And I worked with animals and livestock a lot. And Latin came really easy because a lot of the muscles, bones, they're just the same, mildly different. And so it came very easily to me. And the medication you can always pull up, and they have medication. They had big medication manuals back then, but it was always easy to figure out, or you could just go pull the patient chart because I worked in the hospital, so I'd go pull it. I worked in nuclear med and on the floors, and I just go pull the patient file if I needed it. But I was like typing more than they had a conflict of interest there because they had the head surgeon's wife as a medical transcriptionist, and she wasn't supposed to do her husband's surgical notes, but she would often pull them off the machine and tell us not to do them. We would always try to pull them before she got to notice they were there, so she wouldn't be able to do that. She was mildly aggressive lady. And she had been there a long time. And she got really mad when I got a raise because I was logging the most hours typed every day. So you only get actual typed hours. So like if it's a 7-minute dictation, it could be 7 minutes of them talking at micro machine speed, but that's only 7 minutes that you get credit for. And so I would routinely, get well over an hour and a half every day. That's a lot, in doctor speak. And then they bumped me up to nuclear med, so I worked split departments. And she got very mad at me because I got a raise. And she would sit at her desk and order from Neiman Marcus because she could, just to make us all feel like crap because we were wearing our Walmart clothes, picking our kids up at daycare and wondering how we were going to pay the bill, trying to stretch a penny. And she'd just sit there and order crap from Neiman Marcus and I was like, she come in with extensions when they first started extensions, and they looked really, really bad. And I didn't mean to sound horrible, but when you grow up in barns, especially walking horse barns, they put tail sets and tail extensions on walking horses so that when they are in the show ring, they have this big streaming tail behind them. It's fake. It's a tail set that's attached. And I didn't mean any disrespect. That's just the only place I'd seen fake hair in my entire life is in a horse barn. And she came in, she's like, y'all like my hair? And I said, oh, you got one of them top knots like they put on those blocking horses. I didn't mean any disrespect. That was just the only place I'd ever seen fake hair. She got really upset with me. And I was like, no, it's beautiful. I was like, I've never seen it anywhere but a horse barn before. And I think she thought I was saying it looked like a horse's tail, which those things cost back then even hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it was really I was being nice. But she took it really bad. And I was like, gee. Oh, I see somebody saying hi to me, and I am blind. Hello. I'm so blind. Oh, and when have you all seen when they doctor up walking horses to go in the show ring? They've got those little tiny braided ribbons in their hair, and so lots of times they would give like us those jobs because us little girls with tiny fingers we could braid really tight, and it also kept us out of trouble when we had to go to the barn with our parents because these barns were multi-million-dollar businesses. They were nicer than homes I lived in. The horses lived nicer than I lived. Okay, just saying. And so they would put us in the office, and it was a treat. They'd let us watch TV and bring them a Disney movie or something, and we'd sit there and watch movies and braid ribbons because each horse, depending on what color it was, had its own color palette. And some horses that were big name show horses, they had a specific color theme that they went to the ring with. So we would all braid them, and they had to be perfect. We would shine the tack. We would wash all the leg wraps, and they would give us jobs. But we were helping and we were busy. And, when we got a break, we would climb into the lofts and look for kittens. You'd find snakes a lot of times, but we would, but those were really nice barns. Like they were big, big, big operations. So in barn parties, we would get to start them, but we would always get ushered home, and mom and dad would always come home and be like, I got out of hand. So I never really saw a barn party through. I always got took home because they were like, it's time to exit. So we would always leave. But no, they some rich people and they lived a high life. And, I was on the outskirts of it my entire youth, kind of looking in the window. And the owner of the barn was a big time millionaire, and he had custody of his granddaughter. I don't know if his daughter had passed away or what. I can't remember. I do remember the granddaughter's name was Crystal. And we befriended each other at the barn. Well, lo and behold, our schools were almost right next to each other on the same end of the county. And so some days I'd get picked up in the work truck. Some days I'd get off the bus and I'd have to march the mile, and it's like a mile and a half long driveway up to the stables. Sometimes I'd be lucky and there'd be a groom out checking a pond or something, and I'd get to jump in the golf cart and ride back. But sometimes I get picked up by the work truck. That was nice, so I didn't have to ride the bus. And sometimes, if I got to go after school and play with Crystal, I would get picked up in a stretch limo that had a wet bar. So life was just kind of like, there are lots of different people out there. And I kind of got to see how lots of different kinds of people lived. And I was never really impressed with the ritzy life. I will say that guy was really nice to me. And they had a swimming pool, and she always wanted me to come over and go swimming and play. And they had a chocolate Doberman Pinscher that was so old it didn't have a tooth in its mouth, and they had to soak its food. He had a whole room full of taxidermy from Africa. And I went over one time and she wanted to swim, and I was like, well, I don't have, I was like, I didn't bring a swimsuit. And he's like, well, you need me to run you home? I was like, I don't think I have one. I didn't really go swimming. We waded in creeks and stuff, but and that man took us to town and bought me clothes and cleared a drawer. He made his granddaughter clear a drawer in her room, and I had clothes and swimsuits when I came over so I could jump in the pool. And I was like, but it was a strange existence because we were poor. Dad made good money, but you had to keep up appearances with rich people. There was a lot of travel, a lot of, and so it kind of took money to make money. And I got to hobnob a lot. I just never was quite impressed with people who had money because listen, when you're little and you're like sitting under the buffet table under the sheet because you're waiting for everybody to get their plate and then you're going to rummage, you hear a lot of twisted conversations and you know that money doesn't make anybody good. I found quite often the opposite was true. So I was never really impressed with people that had money. Not impressed with their mouths, their mindset, their intentions, their motives. Never. Quite impressed with the buffets they could, the catering. That was nice. I enjoyed that. When we would go to the celebration every year, I would get turned loose and I would just start going to the barns in the back because each barn like had a barn there and you could get lost back there. And I would just start because they'd all have a big spread out feeding everybody. And I would just start wandering through. They would never tell a kid to go away. So I would just start meandering through eating. And I don't know if any of y'all know the walking horse world, but there was a horse called Prize Jubilee Star that was ridden by Ramsey Bullington. And Ramsey Bullington was this little man that had these big, bushy eyebrows. He always cracked me up. He had big, huge, bushy eyebrows. And I always would like find that barn. And for a couple of years in a row, it was my treat if I could get over there. He had a little bag of carrots that he'd let me feed that horse. So the horse loved carrots. But I have some information on that horse if y'all never knew. He was never really broke. He might have been green broke. Even when he'd been ridden for a number of years, he was never really broke. He just really loved to show. He really loved what he did, and he ruled the roost. He had an attitude. He was a diva. And they would literally have to ride him all day to keep, because he knew it was show day. And he would go in and he would be standing there all day like, yeah, I'm going to be pretty tonight. Yeah. And he'd be like, I know what's going on. It's show day. I mean, he would just be jazzed all day long. And then they start putting all his tack and accessories on and shining him up. And he start breathing. He was amping like an athlete. And I just always was amazed by this horse because he knew his job and he loved it. And literally, they would put grooms on him for an hour before he went in the show ring. And they'd put him in the practice ring because he was so amped up. He was so happy to be doing what he was doing. He loved it. He loved it. And you would see him when he would be in the practice room, he was pacing himself. And then when they'd push him up the gangway to come into the main arena under all the lights, and there's a big stadium around it, but he put on the extra little neck, and he knew he was strutting. And I'd get so tickled with that little horse. And he's actually quite big, but I was only in 4th grade at that time, so I was tiny, so he seemed big. But he was full of himself, and I loved every second of that. I loved every second of that. Walkers do that funny like mules. They do. They have to stop, think about it, wiggle, and then boing. Dried chicken liver. Are we talking about what we catfish with? What are we doing? Yeah, you don't ever wear swimsuits when you're wading. And I would like wade fish. So we would go miles and miles and miles fishing down the creek. Yeah, you'll find a lot of snake skins and where they've shed and like just weird stuff in old barn lots. Even these were like immaculately kept barns, but when you got a hay barn, you can't really keep anything out of it. But we would go and literally dig for kittens because you could hear them. We just go digging for kittens and try to find them. David is out, even though he's sick, and he had a bunch of stuff dropped off that he's got to flesh, and he said, I'm just gonna go build a fire in the first shed and get it fleshed real quick, get it caped out, and it's kind of pre-fleshed, get it caped out, and pre-salt done, rolled up, put it in the freezer. And so he feels good enough to try to do that, but he's trying to give it a day or two to stay away from everybody at work because everybody's been sick. So they're trying to let people go home and stop the swarm of it at work. And I appreciate that because I don't want to have to revisit whatever this is that's going on. Oh, catfish noodling. I've never gone noodling. Well, we don't really catfish noodle in my area. Now a lot of people will get in and dig for snapping turtles, and you just hope you find the tail instead of the head. But I don't like I'm noodling. No, not my thing. Now I do like to turtle fish because them suckers come up. You'll have them hooked and they'll come up like dinosaurs coming out of the pond, ready to fight, and big snappers. And of course, alligator snappers are protected, but the common browns, they got to be a certain diameter, and you have to check the book every year because they change it almost every year. It's like 13, 14 inches, somewhere between. It's always between 10 and 14 somewhere. Even though they move it, and you harvest those to eat. And so we ate turtle a lot when the kids were little. The kids loved to turtle fish. A lot of farmers needed the turtles out of their ponds because they were eating their ducks and their fish and terrorizing the cattle and stuff that was going into the ponds. Because some of these turtles can get really, really big, like huge. And so we turtle fished a lot when the kids were little. They loved it. And if it ever came a big monsoon rain in the summer, you get out and drive the back roads and look for turtles crossing the road. Yeah. Yeah, we've got way too many turtles in this area, and we were having a lot of pond damage and a lot of, well, it had gotten so bad that a lot of the ducks that come through here and migrate through here were getting obliterated because the turtles were eating them when they would migrate through. The turtles would eat them. And so the local TWRA were kind of like, they put an onslaught out on turtles to try to get numbers down for the common browns. And it works. A lot of people, we'd always done it, but a lot of people kind of took up the habit new then. Those turtles. And this is how country I am. This is how country I am. When we would get home and clean them, I don't particularly care to clean turtles. Like I will help you if I have to. But their heart beats and they move for like an hour or so after you chop their head off. That's how you butcher a turtle, by the way. And the kids' favorite thing was to go get a garden hoe. And once we cut the head off, they'd stick the garden hoe in its mouth and it'd slant down and they'd pitch it like we called it hillbilly lacrosse. And they'd run over and stick the garden hoe in its mouth, clamp it, and pitch it. And I had people driving down the road one Sunday, and I guess they didn't know where they were. They kind of stopped and were looking at the kids in the front yard, and I walked around because we were in the backyard. I walked around. I was like, "Can I help you?" And they said something. I kept walking closer, and I said, "Can I help you? I can't hear you." And he goes, "What are they doing?" I said, "They're playing." He goes, "What is that?" And I said, "A turtle head." And I guess they weren't from here because they were just like, and I was like, I mean, might as well amuse yourself. I mean, it's just a nerve response. The thing's dead. Um, yeah, we called it, a little redneck lacrosse. Yeah, if you put them in a holes in tub and kind of water the dirt out of them, the mud out of them for a few days, the meat's a lot cleaner and a lot fresher. Yeah, we have them in big cattle waters. We'd fill up and leave them in it for a day or two. You just have to look. You have to make sure you look at the harvesting guidelines and make sure that you're staying legit with what your state allows because they change that a lot too. So they got a lot of stuff where if you harvest it, it's like an immediate kill or you have so many hours, and they got really particular there for a while. We've not harvested turtles in several years, so I don't know. David he had the hankering the other day. He goes, "We need to turtle fish this year." And I was like, because I don't know. Me walking around a pond with all the pits and cow poop, and I just fell up the steps on the back porch, and we want to make me walk around a pond. Do we think that's going to go? It's not going to go very well at all. It's going to go bad. So I don't know. I have some days to get around fairly decent, and if it's a pond I know and we can drive close to, it's not that bad. But I can't like stand forever and fish, and I have to take a camp chair, and I'm certainly not going to go anywhere to walk in any rough terrain to fish because I'll end up falling in the flipping pond now with my legs. So. Yeah, snapping turtles are a pest. I mean, it's you might as well eat them because they taste delicious. They have literally like 7 different types of meat, and you can tell when you butcher them. It's different colors, it's different textures, and it's all delicious. But you need to boil it before you bread it and fry it, because if you don't, you can't chew it. But a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, the shells. We would keep the shells and shine them, and people would buy them all the time because they want to turn them into salad bowls and stuff, even jewelry. And we keep the shells and clean them and shine them up. And it's always people from California that bought them. And I was like, why does everything go to California? Everything goes to California. All you hear that, is like the tree huggers and PETA people that live in California. But every time that we would like put something up for sale on eBay back in the day, it would go to California. And I'd be like, there's some rednecks in California, apparently. Or at least some people with, good eye for Southern quality, oddity items. Because everything we put on eBay would be like, California. And I'd be like, really? I think I hear Dave coming here. Luna does. Yeah, there he comes. He's coming in. Yeah, and hawks are horrible. Of course, they're a protected animal, so you can't do nothing about it. A lot of people have to net the tops of their chicken coops here. Or you get your really big rooster that doubles as a Labrador dog. I mean, some of the roosters on here are giant. And they'll take, they'll take the security job off of you. But hawks we had one perched over here. And I don't have chickens here, but there's lots of people around us that do. And I was like, somebody's missing a chicken, I bet. Because it looked like he had just had a meal and was just perched there enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, we get eagles up here. They come off the Del Holla area, and they come up here around November, and they'll hang around until about now, and then they'll disappear and go back to nest, I guess. I don't know. But they'll come through, and about the time David gets starting on the water trap sets, every year we'll have a pair of eagles come here, perch. They'll start perching around waiting because they know David traps. And when he skins the beavers out, and he'll throw the carcass outside because he'll do them all at one time when he gets them, throw the carcasses outside. And if it's freezing, it's going to be frozen that night, he'll let them freeze overnight and then haul them off the next morning so they're easier to handle. And if he leaves them overnight, you'll hear something land on your house that sounds like a Volkswagen crashing, and it will be an eagle, and its talons if it down the tin, and it sounds like a human being walking on your roof. And I always hate it when they get on my tin roof because I'm like, stop it, because I just know they're going to mess something up. They got in the backyard, and they look like they're as tall as Labrador dogs walking around in the backyard. They're huge. And they picked up a 35-pound beaver carcass and tried to pack it off, and they got it probably moved 40, 50 foot. And I was just watching them like, I was like, you may be missing a small dog. I bet you know where it is. But they're interesting to watch. They're very, very, very strong. Very strong. Hey, I saw an owl. I was doing nighttime home visits on sex offenders one time. Well, I tell you what. You can tell I had a life and you have to start a story out like that. Anyway, I got way back down in a very rural part of Scott County, Tennessee called Smoky, beyond Norma. And, I mean, back to where you ain't got no phone, no Sirius XM satellite radio, no nothing. And I was out doing a home visit on a sex offender, and I had him out in the yard talking to him. I forget, I don't know what he was talking about. He wasn't in trouble or anything. I was just doing a home visit. We was talking about something. And I heard, like wings. And I turned my head, and he goes, oh, shoot. And he went running for his chihuahua. And I, like, ducked into my truck. Because I was like, what the heck? Because I've had, birds like dive bomb me before, been out hunting and stuff. And he went and grabbed his chihuahua, and he goes, get up here on the porch. And I went and got on the porch. I said, what is that? He goes, it's a big old owl. He says, huge. And I stayed there for probably 10, 15 more minutes because I wanted to see this darn thing. Because when it flew over, we had a couple of trees blocking our view. You could hear the wings fanning. And I was like, this thing's got to be huge. He goes, he'll perch on the barn in a minute. Just sit here. And I just popped a squat on the front porch, on the edge of the front porch, and I was determined to, number one, make sure the chihuahua didn't get picked up, but I wanted to see this critter. And about 10 minutes later, it came and landed on the point of the barn. It looked like a kindergartner on the eve of the barn up there. And I was the biggest owl I'd ever seen in my life. And I just sat there and I was like, nobody's ever going to believe this. And he goes, big and 80. And I was like, that's the biggest owl I've ever seen in my life. And he was like, yeah, he steals everything. And I was like, really? He goes, he's like a magpie. If it's shiny, he'll take it with him. And so this owl had been there for a long, long time. And I guess they called it several names. It was known in the community by several different names. And it would get fed, it'd get fed by people. And where people would throw their scraps out or, have a slop pile when they, throw extras out that was leftovers and stuff. And it knew where the farmers had, cows and stuff had died where they drug off their cows and stuff. It ate well. It was huge. And I will never, like, every time I think about that, I'm like, it was huge, y'all. It looked like a kindergartner up there. It was giant. It was huge. A chubby kindergartner. We get a lot of geese that migrate through here. And when I was in high school, we did a waterfowl management area, and we hooked it into the high school agricultural farm so that the school can't be touched or changed for 100 years. We're sneaky. So that school will stay an agricultural school for at least 100 years because they can't do anything with the land because it's attached to a waterfowl management area. That was smart. But we did that primarily for wood ducks, but we did it for a lot of geese too. And there's a lot of geese now that migrate because a lot of other people started putting in waterfowl management ponds in the area. And so we've got a lot of geese that come through now. And it's nice until you're sitting on the back porch on a crisp day when they're starting to migrate and you're talking to somebody on a cell phone, and all of a sudden a whole flock of them, and they fly low here because we're high up in the mountains. So they always fly low here. And you'll be talking to somebody on your cell phone outside, as you do on a pretty day, and all of a sudden you can't talk because all you can hear is and you're like, go away. Or they come through at like 2 a.m. and they wake you up from dead sleep. And it's like, go away. Go away. They are so noisy. They're so noisy. That owl, I mean, it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not going to lie. It was the biggest thing I ever seen in my life, though. I was like, ooh. I was like, I saw a big old flipping owl. They are. They sound like a bunch of drunk chatting ladies. It's just like, go away. Oh, that reminded me. You're going to think I'm horrible. But we were talking about that lady that had the run-in with the federal officials in Minnesota and got shot. And I said that for me, if I'd been an officer in that position, I would have been more concerned about, because she was moving the vehicle so much, to make sure I was moving out of the way and getting my butt out of the way. And he was trying to, but you could tell she was making it difficult by reversing and moving and moving her. They didn't really know where she was going. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't know what she was doing. It just made it difficult for there to be a safe avenue to handle the scenario at. There's really nowhere you can stand when they keep fidgeting. You don't know which way they're going to go. I guess now they've released some of the hospital records. He had to go seek treatment. He had internal bleeding. So, did y'all hear her come slide about 90 miles or nothing? Oh, David came in. That's what she was happy. She saw Dave. So, yeah, he was hurt. Anyway, that reminded me of that. But yeah, those geese that came over, they sound like cackling, brutal ladies talking. Yeah, we get a lot of Chinooks, and they jar the whole place. I used to live down toward Carthage, and they would fly really high down there. Of course, it's, in the valley. And we had, I could see the Hartsville nuclear tower, the cooling tower that they now have taken down just recently. I could see that from my front porch. It was the only thing I could see, basically, because it was just open space, and then that cooling tower way off in the distance. It was not a nice thought at all. And they would often fly through there, and they got this one, group of 7 came through one day. They just kept coming. And I went out in the front driveway just to look up because they just kept flying over. And they were so low that one guy was hanging out. He waved at me, and I was like, hey. I was like, and I'd never seen them fly that low because up here they can't because it's too dangerous because, you know, the land changes, the mountain changes. But down there, it's just a bowl, and they would fly really low. And I just I waved back because I was like, if you see me, I'll wave back. But he was that low. Like you could see him leaning out. I saw his tactical thing. You could see his glasses under his helmet. And he was sitting halfway out the door. It looked like he had his gun on his lap, but he took his hand and waved, and I was like, did your daddy come inside? Oh, she's so happy, y'all. She's so happy.
Yeah, she's trying to attack the beaver hat.
Oh, is she?
I got to quit.
I get to choose this. Let's see which one I want to choose.
It was the first two I come to.
I hand sew these.
I did too.
Yeah, David does some too. They match my hair. I'm fixing to mess my hair up, friends. This one's a little tight on me. They stretch. What you need to do if you get a fur hat that's handmade, you need to sweat in it once. Oh, yeah. I look like I should be holding a baby going, it's my babushka. I like this one. I like this one a lot. This one's cute. I don't know if I made that or David made that. As you can see, it's hand sewn. Make the pattern, put it all together. And this is a beaver hide, tan beaver hide, garment quality beaver hide hat. And if you treat them right, they'll last your whole life. And they are warm. They are warm, buddy. I think it'd probably look better if I put my hair behind my ears. Okay. Now, if I had a muff, put my hands in. I like this one. I think this is the one I'm going to pick and send. So if Booma sees this, this is the hat you're getting. They almost match my hair perfectly. I still have a red tint in my hair, not like I did when I was a teenager. But I can't dye it now and put the red tint back in because my gray turns like fire engine danger flashing orange. So that's pretty. Yeah, I like this one. Okay, this is one that's going. I like it. I like to pick them out. Okay, let's lift my hair back up. But if you get a tanned fur hat, you need to wear it and sweat it and let it form to your head, and it will stay. It will stay on your head, and it will fit you real good. And then if you ever get out in the rain or something, just treat it like your hair dry it, hang it up in a good ventilated area to dry. You can clean it. You can dry shampoo it. Just treat it like you would your hair. So that's some nice leather, garment quality leather right there. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to start some early dinner and get to working on this weave and some other stuff. And sit that right there so Lou didn't get it. And then I'm going to rest for a little while because that's what today is going to be. It's going to be one of those days. I normally don't line them just because people like to see what quality the tan is. So I normally don't line them, and they're easier to take care of if you don't line them. And I've also noticed that whether you line them with satin or not, I don't get any static if I just leave the hide here. I don't get any static at all. And sometimes, because if you line it with satin, sometimes the satin won't be like the best quality satin, and I'll still get static in my hair. So I just normally leave it like that so they can see it's a real fur, garment quality tan, and they can show it to whoever they want to show it to. Did you? Yeah. I have never, see, when I was little, they wouldn't let the girls make drums. And I have always said I want to make a drum, but I've never found the time to sit down and do it. Even though I have everything I need, I've just not, I've even got a big piece of rawhide, buckskin. I've just not sat down to take the time to stretch it and do it. And I've had a lot of people ask me if I would. I just have not ever found the time to do it.
Quit. Stop. Stop.
Oh, the drama that's going on there. I don't even think about it anymore. I'll just quickly answer about that. He is continuing to make drama. Hang on, Lou's being mean. Lou, Nate, be good.
I'm fixing to whoop your hand in.
Be good. She gets so excited when David comes in. But he, when Sabrina decided that she was not going to be in that mess anymore, he got very aggravated because the only reason he had been able to build the little internet empire he had built was because of people that follow her and had found that a hub to come to get her stuff at him. And so he was kind of riding her tail in the importance line. And when he had repeatedly done, horrible things and been little power displays and stuff. And she's just normally a very submissive person because, she's had a life very different than a lot of people, and she doesn't like to cause a lot of conflict. She just tries to focus on what she's doing and go through. And she's getting better at boundaries now. She's been working on that for a while, and I'm very proud of her. But this last time, I didn't know it had happened until like after it had happened. And he had gotten really hateful with her, and she just internally said, I'm done. She's like, I'm going to finish what I'm researching for him right now, and I'm going to send it, and I'm done. And I found out like after the fact, and only when it had gotten really spiteful on his end. So when she had, basically been quiet for a week and a half, and he hadn't heard from her, I guess they had reached out or started a little drama to see what was going on. And she was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. She's like, you just do your thing. I'll do my thing. Don't worry about it. And he knew, oh crap, I'm fixing to lose all this revenue, people coming and clicking. And so he started I guess there was a possibility that he would, there's some kind of beef with Corinne and about her sharing a link or something. And he didn't like for links to be shared. And he said it's because he doesn't want people to have false information. But if you look at his page, he doesn't like for you to have any information unless he gives it to you. And he provides a link that goes to a revenue addendum site for him that drives you through. And you can tell what he's doing, And I guess he thought that these women were stealing from him in some way by not providing the clicks for him anymore. And so he just started a bunch of drama and a bunch of hate crap, and went on his Telegram and was just saying some really bad things. Like I have some of them recorded and snipped on my iPad, and said some really nasty things about me. But I was just sitting there going, well, that's kind of funny. You thought about me for like a whole hour and a half today. Oh, shucks. Just kind of made me laugh. But it hurts Sabrina because, she likes to think that anybody that's willing to look into this stuff is like decent at the core, and it's just not. It's not always true. And so when she wouldn't do what she normally did, which was submit, go back and do whatever he told her to do, he got more and more hostile and like abusive, and just kind of went on a roll. And the behavior really intrigued me because I was like, oh, I know this behavior. I saw it a lot in the people I supervised. So I just got really nosy one day because he had started talking about Corinne having criminal issues, or one of his ladies that was talking about somebody's criminal issues. And I was like, well, I know they're not talking about, but so I was doing like backgrounds and I was like, well, I couldn't really find anything on Corinne. But then I did him, and he's up in Canada, which is a little bit more difficult because, I'm used to the US format. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's why I've seen this behavior. I supervise people like him. So that's what and it's just that's what he does. And then I found out that he had been on like the evening news years before that because he was in a very horrible apartment complex. He was living there with his child. I think it's a daughter. And he had called the news because the bed bugs and the roaches were so bad. He showed him his legs and arms. He was like ate at. and he had made this huge big fight with the apartment complex, and the landlord answered the news questions and was like, we came in and treated for bed bugs, but he didn't tell us anything about roaches, so we didn't do the extra extermination. He said we'll just do the quarterly stuff. He said so he'll have to submit another request, and it's like then they'll come back and do an extra treatment for that, but he didn't put it on the initial, that's why we didn't. And I was just sitting there going, logical, like thought processing, rationalizing this, conflict resolution. He had lived there, and what bothers me with his kid long enough to have been a human buffet. I would have been like, nope, kid, let's go. We'll strip off on grandma, grandpa's, Aunt Susie, somebody's back porch, wash clothes, take a shower, and live here until I can get that clean, because I'm not putting you in that. Or I would have called the exterminator and said, can you come to my apartment just to get a head start and to keep me and my kids safe? And I would have immediately, because, you have to basically get an exterminator for bed bugs. Then I would have also gone to like the nearest home store and bought a butt ton of Raid for the roaches and just gotten ahead of the curb until they could have got the apartment cleaned like they're supposed to. But he didn't do that. He called the news and did a toddler fit tantrum. And I was like, this is repeated behavior. This is what he does. This is how he resolves things. There's no resolution. There's a fight. There's a tantrum. There's aggression. And, then he puffs and says, I win, and he walks off. But there's no winner. Nobody learned anything. No, he's not obviously learned how to come through a conflict and have a dialogue and not have like a full, Mortal Kombat conflict issue with somebody. Because all he had to say was, yeah, I was a little rude. I was a little rude, a little forceful, and I apologize. But he couldn't. And, and Sabrina was just like, I'm not able to do this anymore with the behavior. She's like, I'm not going to be in this anymore. And she was really, really nice about it until they started talking a bunch of crap about her family. And then it made her mad. And it would hurt her. And rightfully, it would hurt anybody. But she still really didn't snap bad. She was just like, y'all need to stop. And then it was waves of people from his sites, and several of the profiles still acted like him, typed like him, and said phrasings that he would. So I assume it's probably him in several different profiles. Cause crap, but just not a lot of resolution skills there. And not a lot of communication skills there. And she's right to break that off and step away from it. It was not a good situation to be in. And he, has told people, and I got it recorded. Now, he doesn't understand any of it. He would find stuff that he didn't understand, send it to her, and have her make a video, and then he would post the video. And then he would tell everybody, well, I've been wondering about this, and guess what? Sabrina is too, and this is what she just said. And he would pawn it off that he had been researching, and they were just researching the same thing, just as it happened. And I'm like, But I've got it recorded. He said, I don't understand any of it either. He's like, I just would get a video and I would upload it, and that's we would all learn together. But he tells people that you have to come to him to learn anything. But all he does is copy and paste stuff so that you can see it, which is great. Keep a library. That's wonderful. That's a skill set in its own to log stuff. But tell people that you're running a loop, a revenue loop for links, for clicks. Just be honest. Just be honest. So, but that's what has, but the what is the painful thing here is that the wind has come in. What the painful thing here is that nobody's acting like an adult. Like if you go into Synergy Telegram, they're still talking about research and it's still business there. But if you go into, and I keep getting booted, but then I'll go back and find a way in. But if you go into his Telegram, non-vaxxer, which I haven't been in there in a while because I've been so sick and puny, but it's just still, they're just antagonistic, really horrible, deplorable things, ideas, or do you think this goes on in her world? And it's just like, why would y'all sit down and talk about someone like that. Yeah, it's just like it's just, but she's got younger kids than I do, younger children. They're adults, but they're younger adults than mine are. So she still has more of a defensive mechanism up. And but it's not polite. It's just not polite. I really care less what he says about me. Unless you're gonna pull up my driveway and say my face, I don't care. I just don't care. Yeah, he was supposed to be the interconnector for a gift for Sabrina's daughter. And I guess when, Sabrina, even though she fulfilled the research she was doing and just kind of went radio silent and just kind of kept doing her own thing, just didn't check in to see if there was anything else they wanted her to do. She thought, I'll just be quiet and go my own way. Um, he decided he was just not gonna, he just wasn't gonna fulfill anything he had said he would fulfill. So he didn't forward that on. So she didn't get the present that was meant for her. And that's just sorriness. Like, if you send me something, like, and I'll tell you if you'll ask if you want to send something to me, to Sabrina, and I'll say I normally have a box for her started. I'll put it in my box and I'll send it when I send my box. It won't get there directly, but it will get there and I normally tell you when I mail it. And everything gets to her, and it gets to her, and it's labeled from you, and she knows. And so I don't care to do that, but it'll just get mailed with my box. And but he wouldn't forward anything, and just really got vicious and mean. And the things he said, there's some avenues to take care of some of his behavior, but it would just entangle her more and more of his behavior, and cause her to have to deal with him longer. So it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. But I mean, it's and she's been very dismayed at people that would, come to the lives and be supportive and kind, and she would think that they were, really good people, and then she would see them in his Telegram talking crap or being just as vicious as him. And so it really has kind of broken her spirit about trusting people. And so she's kind of starting over in several ways. And that's why she has kind of put up a little block where she can control a lot of the traffic, because the hate that she receives is just bad, y'all. It's bad because when people find out how wrong they are about things, they normally, when they can't process it, they just attack. And if you add any kind of finances in there or revenue that somebody's making off of her, and then she withdraws, and she didn't know that he was doing all this. She just thought he was keeping a library. She didn't know that he, had like this revenue click farm going on. She really didn't care. But, when he thought he could snap the whip and put her back to work, and she was like, no. And he just got really aggressive. I'm proud of her that she walked away and said, I'm not going to take this anymore. But the behavior of a lot of adults that call themselves kind people has been very astonishing. It's very astonishing. So, and I just would ask the question: who do you want in your corner? Do you want the woman that he goes to understand this information and then repost, or do you want the woman that understands the information? Because you have to be able to take a step back and look at this and go, okay, well, she is more valuable for the information, and he has been milking her intellect for a number of years now. She's not done anything about it, knowing that a lot of people is going to do this, and blah blah blah. She wasn't going to go after him for anything, just whatever. Keep your library, and now that she knows about your little click circle for revenue, keep that. We don't care. But because she backed off and it was going to reduce his status that he had built, he got very, very, I would say highly aggressive verbally. And to the point where there were some things said that I probably would have submitted a report to my local cops just in case behavior escalated. I mean, she, statute of limitations still up there. She's still got time. But it was just really poor conduct for an adult to display. Yeah, really poor. But I mean, what are we seeing every day in America right now? Really poor conduct for adults to display. I don't know. I don't know Corinne. No, you said Colin. Okay, Colin. I don't know what was going on between Colin and Booma. I don't know, but me and Colin have never had any issues here. I mean, if you have issues with somebody else, that's just your issue with somebody else. It's not your issue with me. You know, and I like non-vaxxer. I just was wondering why he kept coming doing this, and then when I guess she had said my name or something like, Hillbilly Heart had told me I needed to work on boundaries or something. Then he was like, "Who's this Hillbilly Heart woman? Why is she talking? Bitch, better say my name." And I was like, "How old are you, sir?" I was like, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna look at him because this behavior sounds familiar." Sure enough, did background and and I was like, "That's why it sounds familiar." Yeah, I supervise a lot of people just like him, and somebody's has probably had to deal with him, and it's like, yeah, that's why you're so familiar to me. So I just kind of let it go. I'm just like, okay, he brought my name into it. I did my little background, and I was satisfied with what I found. That's why I had the heebie-jeebies. I never really cared for him, but now I know why, and I just. So what I want to say went my merry way, but nobody has poked or prodded me. I guess they probably know it's just not a good idea to do it. But they're still like after her a lot and not being very pleasant. And the thing is with him, if he thinks that you are also making a penny somewhere, even though it's your intellectual property, it's your brain, he thinks he should be able to mine off of that. And so if you're making money, even though it's not, you're making it on your mind, your your website, your information, your stuff you've put together, he's mad. Now, like, he will sit there and try to monitor and see when you're getting donations or who said they sent you what, and he'll like ledger it down for months, trying to figure out how much money you're making, which is you would never know if somebody's telling the truth or not, but he thinks he thinks he's got everything, and that kind of behavior, y'all, is so unhealthy. That's just an open-ended danger, red light, run away now, man has problems. And so that's concerning to me. But he's very mad when anyone else, like I think Corinne might have had a link to somewhere that was taking people off his site instead of looping them back around to him, and he thought it was costing him money. And I think that was kind of the beef. It wasn't really that she was sharing information he didn't want to share it, just it wasn't circling people back through his click revenue stream. And I don't know how to do all that. I don't really care. I mean, me and AdSense can't even figure out this YouTube crap, But if you're making a penny somewhere, he will sniff it out because he thinks it's his. And I'm just like, y'all know my theory on energy and people. Will you wipe their butt? No. And that's just it's just kind of where I was on all that. So, I mean, I will just look at him and say he's not worth my time or effort, and walk away. It is he wants to call everything else a cult, but the indicators there with the harassment and the abusive treatment, the trauma, I mean, they basically abuse bond over there as abusers. They like get in there and they like henpeck someone that's not even there to defend themselves, and just talk trash, and it's just like a bunch of chimpanzees get each other roused up, and it's really kind of sad to sit there and watch. But people will show you who they are if you sit there long enough and watch them, and it's sad. But I'm really happy to see that in the Synergist Telegram, it's been business as usual, and people have been really disgusted with the display over there and been like, well, why are you talking about this topic that has nothing to do with anything? But when Sabrina first told me about this, and she told me how mad he was and some of the things he'd said, I went and confirmed it, and did my research, and I found the same things. And I told her, I said, it's either ego or financial or both. And then I just sat back and watched, and it was both. And I can work with one or the other, because there's reasoning on one side, but when there's both, there's not reasoning anywhere. And so I was just like, nah, I'm done. A what? I'm half blind, but I mean, what? I don't even know what you're trying to say. Grammar. I don't know. I don't think he's ever tried to sell anything. I think he just likes to loop his click revenue. I don't think he's ever tried to sell anything. I just think he has a click revenue stream. He gets paid for clicks. So it's basically you're driving a current of people, a number to specific sites and they pay you for clicks. If you're herding cattle for them, they'll pay you for the cattle that cross the barrier. And I think a lot of it is, personally for me, I think it's ego driven for him as well. But because he felt important. But the thing is he get on there and do his own work and feel important again. Your importance doesn't have to always rely on somebody else. It doesn't at all. He could get out there and find a component of this that he does understand and use that and work that component, which is what Sabrina asked everybody to do. Find out what you're really good at and then do it and share it, because we all need each other helping. He chooses not to do that. He just wants to overlord everything. And it's just like there's really no reason, everybody that goes there we're older people. I don't need you to tell people, even though it's a public forum and you want everybody there, and then you don't do that. Don't say that word and talk about that. Don't share that link. I don't like that name mentioned here. And it's just like, whoa. You're constantly going, Canna, what? No, I don't. I'm old. I can tell myself what I need to do. I don't need you to tell me what I can do. Thank you very much. And it's disrespectful to people that are trying to research these things to try to tell them, I need your mind to be open enough to receive this knowledge, but I need you to shut it at everything. I need to tell you to shut it out. And it's like, that will throw a lot of people off, and they'll be like, we're not even going to start, because they're going to think it's something that's not good. So I just avoid people that behave like that in general. Yeah, I just avoid people. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, he makes a library. He does organize things well. Kudos to him. I'm not going to dog him about that at all. But, don't try to enmesh yourself in someone else's life, to the point where when they choose that you're not going to be there anymore, that you're going to throw a little shit fit. It's just not attractive. So, it shouldn't matter that a research partner decided to not partner with him anymore. It should not have had this effect on his life or his demeanor. And the fact that it did shows you that there's some issues there that he needs to deal with. So, but the behavior was very unbecoming. I mean, it was childish, and I was not amused at all by him. He showed some true colors, and I'd say we still haven't seen the start of him. I'd say he's got a few more. I looked at the list of stuff I pulled from Canada's websites, from the judicial side of things. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could spit, and I can spit pretty far. But I'm leery of people on a good day, so. And I'm not going to tell you. I don't care if you get his side or not. I don't. And I will probably still tell people if they want to see a true, complete library of this work, I'll probably still say, go check that out. Just don't do it quietly and don't be loud, because don't make yourself a target. That's what I'll tell them. That will be my disclaimer. Don't make yourself a target there, because he will come after you. But, he does have a really good extensive library. I don't like to copy and paste, to click and organize that much. It's just not me. But I'm glad somebody does, because it's necessary. And I'll still see people there, but I'm just going to tell them be careful and don't stand up and wave and say hi because you don't want attention in that place. It's not good. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the other day you had that track over the block over there.
somebody's waving at me hi.
Well, I felt a little better this morning. Of course,
It Sabrina really wants it to stop. And she's just like, stop, just stop. There's no need to keep, because the stuff that she's getting hammered with and the things that are being posted about her family are vile and vicious. And and they are egging each other on. It's fun for them, which is another concerning bookmark of behavior. And she's trying not to be like super emotional. She's trying to be like, it just needs to stop. It's not fun. It's not scaring me. It's just irritating me. It just needs to stop. But I've noted a few things, and I've been like, you probably need to report that. You probably need to put it on paper, just in case if things escalate for some reason, somebody, gets someone else puffed up enough to take a road trip. You probably want to put that on paper in your local sheriff's department and let them know how this has made you feel. And just because with the past that I saw logged in the computer system in Canada, I would feel the need to do so.
No, that's all right.
And that's just my opinion. Man, I can't force her to do that, but it's certainly something that she has the option to do. So, it's just a lot of concerning behaviors from someone that should know better than to act the way he's acted, try to intimidate and verbally assault, slander, the things he said about and to her family. Mm-mm.
I don't know. A lot of people say the more you catch them, kill them, the worse they are. So I don't know. But, yeah. But, Billy showed me a picture this morning.
Oh, it's okay. I'll sort it out. The one I couldn't really understand, but I'll sort it out the best I can. Autocorrect gets me all the time, and if I'm ever on this stupid phone when I'm in Booma's chat, it makes my IQ drop 25 points because I can't type on this phone to save my life. And autocorrect won't even pick words at this point; it just throws things up there. I miss keyboards. I don't have to see with a keyboard. I know what I'm typing with a keyboard, but maybe someday I'll invest in one of those Bluetooth keyboards so I can sit in my recliner and talk to y'all on the Booma stream. That'd be nice. But I'm lazy. Oh yeah, like people don't know what she's been through. Like she had lessons to learn about stuff like this because it hadn't been something that she had been able to explore from a healthy place in her life before, and now she can. And so she's building new parameters now that she's at a healthy place that she couldn't build when the rest of us built them at the normal age groups were normal. So she's doing it right. She's doing it well. I'm proud of her. Yeah, and that's really the thing that made her the most mad is when he said that everyone was brainwashed and Jesus freaks. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that like I have beef with a lot of the different groups of people that have found their way over here to defraud our government and our nation. A lot of it is a cultural thing. But I'm not. I'm like, I don't get to choose your path in life, and I just a lot of it I look at motive and human behavior, but I don't really go into the spiritual side of things because I don't think that's really something I really honestly need to talk about. If I need to touch on something briefly, I will, but I'm just not going to dwell there very much. But to say the things he said about the group of people that we have it was just a lot of concerning behavioral bookmarks there. It was just like noted. So
Take it easy.
No, I don't have a real laptop anymore. I have those little hooky and iPad keyboards and stuff, but I hate those. I want one of those gamer keyboards that makes the old IBM click click sounds.
No,
I've
they're
seen
just
them.
popping.
I've played with
They're
them
just
at the
popping
store and been like, oh
screens
yeah,
now.
this is I could go like on this thing. And I want one, but I'm like, I don't want to pay for one, so I'll just wait. I'll wait till I have a really good sale, or I'll find one used somewhere, and I'll buy it then. But I've noted me like I can see my big TV in the living room just fine. I just need a Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah,
I'll get through one day, y'all. I'm slow. I'm slow.
Yeah, everybody says it is. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But anyway,
I know I've seen the Seven Seas name pop up, but I don't know exactly the beef.
see.
I've derived that he's not a very nice, congenial person, so I just leave it at that. I wonder if that was a concrete truck.
Probably was. Probably about run over somebody.
We have a concrete place close by, and then we just heard a huge horn. It must have been a concrete truck. Yeah, she's been ready a few times to stop, but I think she understands how important it is. So she just tries. She's tried to put up healthier boundaries where she can control the flow of people. Because I told her one day, I said, if you need to put up a little tiny paywall, I said, because trolls have a lot of time, but they normally don't have a lot of money. And they don't even have like a dollar, you know. And I was like, if you just put up a cup of coffee a month paywall, it will like reduce 80% of the hate. And it did. Like a lot of the places were fourth wall that she tried, Ko-fi, I still don't know. Anyway, that was not a good place. She seems to be a little bit more jobbing with fourth wall. I'm not there yet, people. I'm slow, I'm busy, and I have to kind of go where I can where I have time. And but it was basically to put a little, hedge of protection around her because of the just behavior from people. It just is atrocious. Oh, did he? I mean, you can have beef with somebody, and you can say why you have beef. And like, I'll tell you why I have beef with somebody if I have beef. I'll tell you my concerns about somebody if I have concerns. But it's going to be a reason. I'm not going to tell you why I made this decision. But I'm not like going to do it in a manner where I'm trying to get clicks or create more drama because I don't like drama. I had to work with them girlfriends, them gang members, girlfriends, and oh, the drama. The more rhinestones they had on their nails, the more issues I was going to have with them. And I had my share of drama when I was working, and I don't care for it now. So I just don't care for it. I'm not even on Twitter, X, whatever it is. I like tried to sign up when it was still Twitter, like I mean years ago. And I think it was for like work, like you could register with like some of the state departments and monitor employee stuff. And I never liked the way I just didn't like the vibe there. I just didn't like the way I felt when I was there, and I never used it again. And I've never gone back to even see. I don't even know what my account was. If I was still using, if I used this handle or used, I don't know now. And I've never tried to re-register. People just share stuff that is on there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't want to go over there, so I just don't go over there. Yeah, just try to miss out on as much as you can. But I think he wanted to drag me into it, and until he figured out it probably wouldn't end well. Um, but I wasn't going to be drugged. I told him what was going to happen if he come after me. And I was like, I'll have a logbook on you that the cops will know the days you farted, when you farted, and what tune you farted in. So he's left me alone. But I think that Liz, I just read I think that Sabrina should take my advice and probably put down on paper a statement and do a report just in case somebody gets angst enough, ridden to take a road trip. Just to be like, this worries me. And then should something, should they escalate each other to somebody do that, she's got the process already started. So, and the basis for, whatever needs to happen, it already have the ground floor built. And if nothing happens, nothing happens. That's great. Yeah, I was thinking and reading at the same time, and it didn't work. That didn't work well at all. Yeah, well, he said, he knew everything about everybody. Okay. I spent maybe 15 minutes researching him and found way more than I wanted to know. So I imagine if I spent more time. But also, I was taught how to do that. So it's not fun though. Like, you don't always want to know the bad things about people. So I wouldn't say make it your life's mission, which is why I don't, unless somebody going to try to be a burr under my saddle pad, then I'll. Like people, I don't worry about most deputies. But I don't know. I saw a lot of oppositional, defiant, and egotistical, arrogant indicators in him, and I was just like, and I wondered why he triggered me like that. And then when he caused all this problem, and I looked him up and I saw his history, I was like, oh, I didn't work in that line of work for a long enough time. I mean, that's why I pick up on stuff. But I told Sabrina, I tell her if I like people, if I don't, if I get a bad vibe. And I said, I just don't like him. She's like, did you see this video? And I'm like, I just don't like him. It's like, I can't tell you why. I just don't get a good vibe. I just don't like him. And a lot of him probably get mad at me. I don't care for Tori either. There's just something there I don't like. Sometimes I can listen and get a little bit of information that's useful, but sometimes I'm like, I just don't enjoy this. There's something there I don't like. I just don't get it. And I know some of y'all really enjoy her content, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I just personally I don't like it, and I just don't feel good there, and but it's probably my brain may click different than yours, so that may be part of it. And I tell her I don't know why. It doesn't mean you don't need to be there. It's just I'm not going to be there. So we don't agree on everything. We have completely different research interest levels, how we deal with things. It's why we like each other so much, because what she does, I'm horrible at, and what I do, she's horrible at. And so we kind of cover each other's blind spots a lot of the time. And that's what friendships normally do. I try. I fail most days, but I try. Okay, I'm going to have to get busy at stuff, and I'm going to have to get this box because it's going to go to Booma. And I've got a couple things I need to check. And then I'm going to sit down and do this and make some dinner. But it's just a nasty day here, so watch the weather. I think we might even get some snow later. Well, I don't know. I think they might have put it more toward North Carolina now, but it might still clip us. But it's going to look, the next week's going to be one of those warm, cold, and then it's going to, this is the weirdest winter. Last year was horrible. It was just cold, 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 frozen, frozen, frozen. And this year's been like, is it going to, are we, it's like the two-step, We're covering the dance floor, but in a very weird way. And this is this winter. Complimentary trail mix to everybody in the chat. You got to put almonds and cashews in it, though. Yeah, it's been a weird winter. Okay, well, I'm going to shut up. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for jumping in and let me share how this frame went and the crochet stuff I completed. And as always, I don't know. I know that somebody jumped on the personal dreamcatcher ad. I think there's still a possum or two. I don't know what else is up in the store. While he's home with this cold, I think we may go through some inventory and help get some stuff put in the store that we need to put in the store, because it's just not doing him any good sitting here. So while I've got him here, I may force him to kind of do that a little bit. So if you want to go to the store, it's Hillbilly Heart Decor. Don't ever feel obligated. But David does the fur trapping, tanning, and I craft. He keeps me craft supplies. So every time once in a while, I make something. And I say, here, you can have it. Sometimes you can find something that I have created from the madness of my little mind. But for most of these, just his fur. So I think the first thing is going to be I don't know if the first thing is going to be the spring planting or the Viking. We've never done the Viking thing before. So this would be his first year at the Viking. I'm excited. I want to go. I hope my health is really good. I want to go. So I think that'd be a good vibe for the fur. And then, of course, the spring planting is always fun. So that's when things will amp back up festival-wise. So we just really need to kind of put some inventory up now since everything has died down from the Christmas festival, and it's just kind of stagnant for us right now. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all have a good day, too. We appreciate your time. I hope it's always well spent with me. Don't ever feel obligated to spend the entire chat with me. And I'll pop back on in a couple of days and check in and show you what I'm working on or how this dreamcatcher's going. But I'm going to kind of stick my nose down and get to work and get some stuff accomplished. So, and deal with all the snot flowage in this house. I'm just going to focus on health right now for the next couple of days. So y'all have a good evening. I'll talk to you soon. The Viking thing is going to be in Scott County, Tennessee. It's going to be a little local thing. It's not going to be like a big Ren Fair or anything. It's going to be like one of the first that this little company is overtaken to do. It's going to be the first thing geared like that we've been to. But it's going to be out of Scott County, Tennessee in an area called Possum Trot. Not even lying, Possum Trot. And probably if you Google that, you could probably find the area that it's going to be in. It's a really rural area because I used to have people that I had to supervise new home visits on over in that area. So it's in a proximity to us. I always worked. I did like a 5-county rotation. But it's going to be a new experience. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be fun. And I like to have fun when I get to leave the house, which is not often. So I'm hoping to have fun. So I'll take pictures and share stuff with you if I'm able to go. So, okay, I'm going to shut up. I got to get to work. Love you guys. See you in a couple days. Y'all stay well. Don't get this cold.